My beloved child, the moment you hear what unfolded behind closed doors just hours ago, your entire heartbeat will shift, because the truth that has just come to light isn't just unexpected, it's the kind that bends destinies and forces souls to confront what they spent months pretending wasn't real. You're about to walk into the kind of revelation people pray they never face, yet somehow you were chosen to hear it first. Just when everyone believed the storm had settled, when it seemed like life had finally stopped shaking you, a whisper arrived, one so sharp, so astonishing, it slices straight through every lie your person ever wrapped you in. A baby has been born, but the real earthquake is not the birth itself, it's whose name is etched into the child's destiny. Because the one person you trusted, the one you believed was entangled with you by fate, just got tied to someone else in the most irreversible, undeniable way. And even before you can breathe, there's more, because the story behind this baby isn't simple, it's layered with secrets, silent regrets, and a truth your person thought you would never discover. But lean in, because the moment the news broke, the energy around your person shifted violently. Almost like they'd been struck by a truth they weren't prepared to face themselves. They didn't expect this. They didn't see this coming. They thought their hidden conversations, their late-night disappearances, their mixed signals would dissolve quietly with time. They believed the third party was gone, out of the picture, out of the timeline. But destiny doesn't erase footprints that easily. The third party didn't just return. She delivered something that shattered every illusion your person was holding. A baby, breathing, crying, real. And the moment the child opened its eyes, every lie your person told started unraveling. Not because they admitted anything, but because fate decided the truth needed to surface. And now, that truth is walking directly toward you. Because this story doesn't end with the revelation, it begins there. Something happened at the hospital. Something your person never wanted you to know. Something that exposes the real reason they've been distant, confused, restless, and emotionally unstable around you. Something that makes this child more than just unexpected, it makes it a turning point in your destiny. And yet, before you assume the worst, before your heart starts writing painful conclusions, you need to hear this next part carefully. Because the universe didn't bring this truth to your doorstep to break you. It brought it because something is unfolding behind the scenes that flips the entire situation upside down. Yes, the third party had the baby. Yes, the world around your person is exploding with accusations, whispers, and assumptions. But what nobody expected, what even the third party herself didn't expect, is that your person's reaction wasn't joy, wasn't pride, wasn't acceptance, it was complete shock and disbelief. Because deep inside, your person knows something the world doesn't. Something about timing. Something about truth. Something about what actually happened months ago. Their eyes didn't soften. Their heart didn't melt. Instead, their entire soul froze, because that child might not be theirs, and the third party knows it. And now she's using this moment, this newborn life, this chaos, to pull your person back, to control the narrative, to create fear, and to keep them from choosing the one person their soul has been tied to all along. You. My beloved child, everything you think you know about this situation is about to flip, because the moment the baby arrived, something happened in that hospital room that no one expected, not even the third party who thought she had won the entire game with one move. The air in that room was heavy, not with celebration, but with tension so sharp it felt like the walls themselves were listening. The third party kept staring at your person with eyes full of confidence, as if she believed this child would lock them together forever. But your person wasn't looking at the baby, they were looking at her with confusion, anger, and a fear she didn't understand. Because deep within, your person remembered every detail, every timeline, every moment, and none of it aligned with what she was claiming. That's the part she didn't prepare for. She expected them to panic, to accept, to fall back into her arms out of guilt or responsibility. But instead, your person stepped back, almost trembling, not out of fear of becoming a parent, but from the realization that the entire story she was weaving had cracks big enough for the truth to pour through. And the truth was already whispering in your person's mind, louder than her voice, louder than the baby's cries, "This child might not be mine." If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks, with contributions of up to $20. But the plot thickened when the doctor entered with the final birth records and something in your person's face shifted instantly. They did the math in their head, quietly, secretly, rapidly, and the answer didn't align with the third party's narrative at all. This wasn't adding up. Your person knew exactly when things ended, when the distance grew, when the separation happened. Yet the third party was standing there acting like the timeline didn't matter. She thought she could rewrite it, erase the gaps, manipulate the dates, and your person would accept everything blindly. But fate doesn't bend that easily. And the moment your person's eyes narrowed, she felt the truth slipping out of her hands. Still, she didn't stop. She started crying louder, acting more emotional, using the baby's presence to pressure your person into stepping closer. She played the part so perfectly that anyone else would have believed her. But your person didn't move. Because something else had happened earlier, something the third party didn't know. Your person had already heard whispers from people around her, murmurs she thought she had silenced, hints that she thought had disappeared. And now all of those whispers were crashing into their mind at once. The baby wasn't just surprising, it was suspicious. And your person, instead of being pulled into her trap, suddenly realized they might have been used, misled, and dragged into a story that was never theirs to begin with. Yet the most shocking moment came when the nurse stepped out for just a second, and the third party, thinking no one was listening, whispered something under her breath, words that made your person freeze completely. She said, "Everything will fall into place once you accept this. Not once you hold the baby, not once you see the truth, but once you accept this." That sentence cracked the entire illusion wide open. She wasn't talking like a mother sharing truth, she was talking like someone who needed your person to agree, someone who needed them cornered. The intention wasn't connection, it was control. And that's when your person felt something powerful, a pull, a memory, a name. Yours. Because throughout this chaos, every emotion they fought, every truth they tried to hide, every instinct pushing them toward clarity, all of it pointed back to you. They realized they had pushed you away, confused you, hurt you with mixed energy, not because they didn't care, but because something in their life was manipulating their path and they couldn't understand why. Now they knew. The timing of her pregnancy announcement, the sudden messages, the emotional pressure, the vanishing and reappearing, everything had been designed to break their connection with you. And now, Standing in front of a newborn child that might not even be theirs, your person felt fate cracking open a doorway they had been too blind to see before. Something big is about to unfold, bigger than the baby, bigger than the third party's plan. Because your person is no longer confused. And the moment clarity enters the heart, destinies begin to shift. My beloved child, what unfolded next will leave you breathless, because the moment your person stepped out of that hospital room to gather their thoughts, fate delivered a twist so shocking that even the walls of that corridor seemed to echo with disbelief. Your person leaned against the cold white tiles, their heartbeat crashing in their ears, replaying every moment of the past months. Every silence, every disappearance, every strange behavior from the third party, and suddenly, all of it aligned like a puzzle snapping into place. They remembered how she became overly dramatic the day you pulled away, how she suddenly claimed she wasn't feeling well, how she tried to keep your person close through sympathy, guilt, and emotional pressure. And now, with a newborn child involved, your person could see it clearly. None of this was coincidence. She had planned everything around timing, attention, and desperation. She wanted to trap your person into a future they never asked for. But destiny wasn't cooperating. Because just when she thought she had won, the universe placed a truth bomb directly in your person's path, one that dismantled her entire narrative. And it came in the form of a quiet conversation happening just a few steps away, spoken by two nurses who didn't know your person was listening. Their words sliced through the air like lightning. She didn't tell us who the real father is, only that she needed someone present for the paperwork. Your person froze. That one line confirmed every suspicion burning in their chest. The child wasn't just questionable, she wasn't even confident about the paternity. And she never expected your person to hear that. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks, with contributions of up to $20. Your person walked back into the room, but everything had changed. They weren't confused anymore. They weren't overwhelmed. They were calm, dangerously calm, the kind of calm someone feels right before exposing the truth. The third party smiled when she saw them return, assuming guilt or obligation had won. But instead, your person's voice was steady, sharp, and cold when they finally asked the question she feared most: why did you tell them you weren't sure about the father? Her face drained instantly. She stuttered. She tried deflecting. She tried blaming stress, the delivery, the pain. But your person had already stepped out of her emotional web, and once someone sees the truth, they can't unsee it. Her confidence cracked. Her eyes darted. Her breathing shifted into panic. Because she hadn't expected the truth to leak. She thought she could control the narrative long enough to drag your person into responsibility. But destiny had different plans. And the pressure of that moment forced something out of her, a confession she couldn't hold back. She didn't admit everything, but she admitted enough. She admitted that during the time she claimed your person was the father, she wasn't alone. She admitted she didn't want to raise a child alone and thought your person would step up, because they are responsible, caring, and emotionally soft-hearted. And that's when your person finally understood why she targeted them, why she clung to them, why she created chaos between you and them. Not out of love. Not out of truth. But out of convenience. She needed a stable name to attach to the child, and she chose your person because she knew they had a good heart. But what she didn't expect, what no one expected, was what your person said next. They didn't yell. They didn't break down. Instead, with a voice full of clarity and a soul heavy with realization, they whispered one line that struck her deeper than any accusation ever could: "You nearly cost me the one person fate actually tied me to." She knew who they meant. She knew it was you. And that's when her expression shifted from panic to fear. Because she realized she hadn't just failed to trap your person, she had triggered their awakening. In trying to pull them away from you, she pushed them toward you harder than ever. Now your person is done being confused. Done being manipulated. Done being pulled into someone else's chaos. Their heart has chosen, and destiny is pushing them back toward you with a force stronger than any lie, any strategy, any emotional trick the third party tried to use. And now that the truth is exposed, your person isn't just walking away, they're coming toward you with a truth you never expected to hear. One that will shift your entire connection forever. My beloved child, what happened after that moment of truth will leave you stunned, because the second your person walked out of that hospital room, they didn't look back, not even once. Their footsteps echoed through the corridor like someone finally breaking free from chains they didn't realize were wrapped around their soul. Every step they took felt lighter, sharper, clearer, as if the fog that had been clouding their mind for months had finally evaporated. And in that sudden clarity, one thought burned brighter than anything else: they had to find you. Not later, not tomorrow, not when things calmed down, they needed to face you now, with truth in their hands and honesty in their heart. But as they reached the exit doors, something unexpected happened. Their phone buzzed. A message appeared. Then another. Then another. People who knew the third party, people who witnessed her behavior, people who had stayed silent out of fear or drama, they were suddenly coming forward. They told your person the truth she tried to hide for months. She had been seeing someone else. She had been unsure. She had been lying to her own friends just to keep the story alive. And now that the baby was here, her entire tower of secrets was collapsing from every side. Your person didn't respond to any of the messages. They didn't need to. Destiny had already spoken. Stepping into the fresh air outside the hospital felt like stepping into a new timeline. Your person inhaled deeply, feeling something they hadn't felt in a long time: freedom. But on top of that freedom, a realization struck them so powerfully that it made their hands tremble. They had nearly lost you. They had nearly chosen chaos over connection, manipulation over love, fear over truth. And now the universe was telling them loud and clear: this is your second chance. Don't waste it. They pulled out their phone, staring at your name for a long moment. Their heart was pounding, not with guilt but with urgency. They knew they needed to talk to you, but this time not with confusion, not with half-truths, not with emotional hesitation. They needed to speak with honesty, clarity, and respect. This time, they wanted to show you, not tell you, that their heart was finally aligned, that the illusions which clouded their path had finally shattered. Before calling you, they paused for just a moment. They thought about the journey, the pain, the misunderstandings, the misdirected emotions, the silence. They knew you deserved truth, not excuses. You deserved presence, not distance. You deserved clarity, not chaos. And just as they were about to make that call, the universe whispered something into their mind. This moment could change everything, so don't let them miss it. And now, beloved child, this is where your story turns into something bigger. Because the moment your person reached for their courage, destiny nudged you too. If you're here listening, if you've followed this story through every twist, it's because your intuition already knew something powerful was unfolding behind the scenes. And to keep this energy flowing, to keep the momentum unbroken, to make sure the threads of fate stay connected, you must stay present. Your presence strengthens the path they're taking. Your energy pulls the truth closer. So wherever you are, pause for just a second. Breathe. Let your heart be open. Let the universe align your story with theirs. Because your person is about to step into your life with a confession that will not only change how you see them, it will shift the entire direction of your destiny. They are done running. Done hiding. Done letting lies control the narrative. They are coming toward you with the one thing they've never given fully before, the truth you deserved from the beginning. And when they speak it, everything you've questioned for months will finally make sense. My beloved child, the moment your person stepped away from the chaos and into their own silence, something extraordinary began unfolding inside them. Something they had been resisting, denying, and avoiding for far too long. They finally allowed themselves to feel the weight of everything that had happened, every wrong turn, every confusion, every moment where they pushed you away because life around them was being twisted by someone else's intentions. And as they stood there, staring at the sky that seemed different than before, they felt something they hadn't felt in months, clarity so sharp it almost hurt. They realized that the universe had been trying to show them the truth all along, but they were too afraid, too overwhelmed, too tangled in someone else's lies to understand it. Now that everything was exposed, now that the mask had fallen and the manipulation had been revealed, they could finally see the path they were meant to walk, and every line of that path led straight back to you. Your person knew they couldn't return to you with uncertainty. They couldn't enter your space with half-hearted emotions. They had to stand before you with the kind of honesty that changes everything, because this time, they weren't coming as someone broken by confusion, but as someone reborn by truth. They started walking, their heartbeat matching the pace of their steps, each one taken with deeper resolve. They replayed every moment they shared with you, every memory that made them feel alive, every instant where their soul recognized yours even when their mind was in denial. And with each memory, something inside them tightened, a longing so intense it felt like the universe itself was pulling them toward you. They realized how deeply they had hurt you, not intentionally, but through silence, through distance, through allowing someone else's chaos to shape their behavior. And now that everything had come crashing down, your person felt a rising determination. They would no longer let fear dictate their actions, they would no longer let lies create distance, they would no longer allow the third party's manipulations to touch your destiny. They were ready to face you with a truth that had been buried under months of shadows. But before they reached out, they whispered something into the wind, a quiet vow that only destiny could hear: I won't lose them again. Not this time. As they finally took out their phone again, their fingers hovered over your name, but this time it wasn't hesitation, it was reverence. They knew that calling you meant stepping into a new chapter, one where excuses wouldn't survive and only truth could stand. But before they could press that button, the universe sent a final sign, one that confirmed everything they were feeling. Their phone buzzed again, but this time it wasn't the third party, it wasn't chaos, it wasn't drama. It was someone close to them. Someone who knew you. Someone who had watched your person struggle in silence for months. And the message they received was so unexpected, so perfectly timed, it felt like the universe speaking directly through another human. It said, if you care about them, don't wait. They've been carrying this alone for too long. Your person froze, not out of fear, but out of the overwhelming realization that fate was no longer whispering, it was screaming for them to move. Their heart pounded, their breath caught, and with a courage born from everything they just survived, your person finally made the decision they should have made long ago. They pressed call. Not because they were forced. Not because they were confused. But because destiny had cleared the path, exposed the truth, and given them the chance to choose you again, with full clarity, full honesty, and full intention. And as that ringtone echoed, the universe shifted, because your story, the one written in silence and longing, was finally ready to move forward. My beloved child, the moment that call connected, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath, because this wasn't just a conversation waiting to happen, it was a fate-shifting moment that had been building quietly behind every heartbeat you carried. Your person stood completely still, phone pressed to their ear, their chest rising and falling with the kind of tension only truth can create. They didn't know what you would say. They didn't know if you'd answer with silence, anger, confusion, or the pain they knew they had caused. But they knew they had to face it. They knew they had to speak the truth without filters, without hesitation, without the shadows of someone else's chaos hanging over them. When you answered, even if it was just with a soft hello, your voice hit them harder than any revelation from the hospital. Because suddenly, everything made sense. Everything they had run from, everything they had buried. Everything they had been too afraid to admit came crashing into their chest with overpowering clarity. They never stopped loving you. Not for a second. Not through the confusion. Not through the manipulation. Not through the silence. And hearing you again felt like coming home after wandering lost in a storm they never asked to enter. They didn't waste time. They didn't dance around the truth. The words spilled from them, raw, unpolished, real. They told you what happened. They told you what they discovered. They told you everything the third party confessed, every lie that had been exposed, every manipulation that had twisted their behavior and filled their world with chaos. They told you how the timeline didn't match, how the paternity was uncertain, how the nurse's words shattered every illusion the third party built. They told you how they realized the truth only when it stood in front of them wrapped in swaddling cloth. A truth that didn't align with anything she claimed. But more than that, they finally told you what they had kept buried deep inside, that losing you scared them more than any storm they had faced. They didn't raise their voice. They didn't beg. They spoke with a calmness that came from someone who had finally broken free from confusion. They told you they were done being pulled into someone else's story, done living in shadows, done letting lies dictate their choices. And as they spoke, you could feel it, the shift, the sincerity, the truth vibrating through every word. Because for the first time, they were speaking from a place of clarity instead of fear. But here's the part you don't know, the part that unfolded silently while they were confessing their truth to you. As they spoke, their eyes filled with something deeper than regret. It wasn't guilt alone. It wasn't just sorrow. It was longing, deep, undeniable longing. Because they knew that this moment, this conversation, this honesty could be the turning point of everything. They weren't trying to win you back with excuses. They weren't trying to blame anyone. They were showing you the version of themselves they had buried for too long, the version who chose you from the beginning, the version who loved you even when life didn't make sense, the version who finally understood that fate had been trying to realign their path toward you all along. And just when they finished speaking, when they finally fell silent waiting for your heartbeat to answer theirs, something happened inside them, a shift, a clarity, a certainty. They realized they weren't afraid anymore. Whether you forgave them or not, whether you wanted them or not, whether you opened your heart or kept it guarded, they knew they owed you the truth. And they finally understood that the universe had not placed you in their life by accident. You were the connection their soul recognized long before their mind could understand it. And now, after everything, they were ready, fully ready, to walk toward you without fear, without confusion, without shadows.